Good morning. Today is Monday, March 25th, 2013, and this is Cary, North Carolina, and I'm proud to say this is the 40th annual CALLERLAB convention. We feel the executive committee has prepared and planned a very fine convention for you, and we hope you will enjoy it and participate with us on this convention. Most of what we do requires you as attendees to get involved, so please do. We will ask you at this point in time to put your cell phones on either silence, vibrate, or turn them off altogether. Before we start the meeting, before I turn it over to the chairman, I'd like to introduce, if you're not, some of them are not in the room, but I do want to acknowledge our home office staff, the people who helped put this convention together. Of course, my wife, Donna, who has been extremely busy the last couple days. And as we have tested her ability to remain positive. Also from the home office in the back, she works actually out of Omaha, Nebraska. She comes in and does our editing and so forth, but we do it primarily by email and electronics. Roy Stent. Roy, stand up. Okay. Oh, she is standing. From also our office administrator, Wade Moore, I think he's out putting up sound yet, and his lovely wife, Laura, you met at the registration. Their daughter, Lydia, Lydia has been around here also. You may have seen her. We also want to thank anyone and everyone that helped with the registration area as well as the convention setup and so forth. We appreciate all your assistance and so forth. It's now my pleasure and privilege to present the CALLERLAB Chairman of the Board. Please welcome Elmer Sheffield.
Thank you. I thank you very much. I'm glad one thing, that is I don't have to call a dance today because I have a terrible cough and sore throat. So if right in the middle of my little talk here I have to start coughing, you'll have to forgive me, okay? We certainly, I want to repeat what Dana said, we really appreciate all of you being here. We have a great organization and a great activity, and it's just a pleasure to see that all of you are interested in seeing that it goes on. We want it to continue for years and years and leave it with our grandkids and their kids and everybody else. So thank you for coming here, and I hope that you gain a lot of information, see a lot of, I don't want to say old friends, friends that you've known for a long time, and maybe some new friends, okay? And I thank you. I thank you, too, for the 2 years that you have allowed me to be your chairman of the board. I appreciate it. It's been quite an experience. I plan to write a book about it. It may take me a while, but no, I'm just kidding you. Everything has its ups and downs, and there's been more ups than downs, so I thank you. Each year we invite representatives from various national and international dancing organizations to join us for our convention. We're honored that many of them have accepted our invitations and are with us today. I'd like to introduce them at this time, and when I do, would you please stand and remain standing to be recognized as I call your name. I also would ask that you please hold your applause until I have introduced all these invited organizational representatives. You understand that? Please hold your applause. We have a time schedule we got to meet here. Representing around the lab, Debbie and Paul Taylor, chairman. Representing National Executive Committee, NEC, Lee and Barbie Ashwill, general chairman of the 54th NSDC. Representing the United Square Dancers of America, Jerry and Donna Roby. Representing the 63rd National Square Dance Convention in Little Rock, Arkansas, Wayne and Laura Wade, general chairman.
They will be in later.
Sir?
They'll come in later.
They're coming later. You can hold your applause for them, too. Now, at this time, let's give them a nice hand of applause. we thank you for taking your time to come and be with us, and we hope that maybe you learn a little bit from our side of the spectrum here. Each year, we have several CALLERLAB members who represent other organizations. We are pleased that these members volunteer to provide representation for these other organizations. I'd like to introduce them at this time. Same as before, would you please stand, remain standing to be recognized as I call your names. Please hold your applause until I have introduced all these invited organizational representatives. From the Arts Alliance for Round, Traditional, and Square Dance, Betsy and Roy Gata. European Callers and Teachers Association, ECTA, Don Casper. International Association of Gay Square Dance Clubs, Chris Jensen. Japan Square Dance Association, Shozo and Miyoko Nishimura, Chairman of the International Committee. The Overseas Dancers Association, Skip and Betty Brown. Square Dance Callers Clubs of Great Britain, Trevor and Chris Day. Representing Grand Square Incorporated, Kim Curley and Tony Oxendine. He's still sleeping. Representing American Square Dance Magazine, Bill and Joanne Boyd. Representing the Lloyd Shaw Organization, Bob Riggs. Representing the 65th NSDC Des Moines, Iowa, Mike Hogan. Now you may applaud. Thank you. Thank you. We thank you for all the work that you do also. All righty. If you are attending your first CALLERLAB convention, please stand. Your first. All right. Thank you. Again, we thank you and hope that it turns out to be worth your time and your money. Okay? There are 27 attendees and partners that are registered. Please identify yourselves as I call your name. Please hold your applause until I've read the list. Dan and Diane Austin, sorry, I don't see well either. Wayne and Diane Burns. Michael Fedding. Thomas Garner. David Littlefair. Gary Morford. Naru Okumura. That's a Japanese name, right? Christopher, how you say that? Slitter. Christopher Slitter. Lauren Smith. Chris Stacy. Debbie and Paul Taylor. Sharon Baldwin. Jeremy Butler. Sharon Frank. Arlene Kaspick. Mary Moody. Lydia Morrow. Jerry and Donna Roby. Carl Sims. Wally Smolson. David Staples. Ed and Linda Willis. We welcome you, and we hope that you enjoy the convention also. If you have attended at least 5 CALLERLAB conventions, please stand. Wonderful, wonderful. Nice looking group. Obviously, you didn't learn everything the first time, so you came back. And we appreciate that. How about a nice hand for these folks that have been here for more than 5 times? Now, I'd like for you to please remain standing until the number exceeds your years of previous attendance. And I'm going to read these kind of fast, so listen carefully. And when you hear the number that exceeds how long you've been coming, sit down. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. You left out 27. 27? He's just testing me to see if I really can count that high. 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. And I'm assuming that you guys that are left standing were at the original first Caller Lab, 40 years, 30 years, for 39, whatever. Anyway, how about a nice hand for these guys? They're a lot younger than they look, really. Good. We really appreciate the vision that some callers had back, around 1974, John? 74, that actually started this organization. And what'd you have then? 12? 25? Okay. So it's grown quite a bit. I think now we have a membership of a little over 1,500. So it's done well, and we thank you. We thank you for continuing the success of CallerLab. And I didn't read this, but I said it. Yes, those that were standing at the end have attended every CallerLab convention since 1974. So please identify yourself as I call your name. John Jones, howdy. Jamel, and Melton Luttrell. And those are, I believe, that's the names I have anyway. They were from the beginning. On this 40th anniversary of CallerLab, we're also very pleased to have 6 members with us who have served as chairman of the board. Bless your hearts. Please hold your applause until I have read all the names. Jim Mayo from 1975 to 77, and then again from 2001 to 2002. John Jones from 79 until 81. Mike Seastrom from 1992 to 94. Tony Oxendine, 94 to 96. Thank you, Tony. Hey, listen, we missed Tony a while ago. Go ahead and give him a nice hand. Thank you. Tim Mariner, 2006 to 2008, and 2010 to 2011. John Marshall, 2008 to 2010. How about a nice hand for these guys who've served as your chairman of the board over the years? Thank you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, and you've all been here. So, you know, I joke about it a lot, but as I said before, it's really quite an honor to be chairman of the board of CallerLab. And finally, of the 117 callers who attended the 1974 convention 40 years ago, 6 are with us today. Would you please stand and be recognized as I call your names, and hold your applause until I've read all the names. Calvin Campbell, Jerry Helt, John Jones, Melton Luttrell, Jim Mayo, and Lee Kopman. Is Lee here? Thank you very much. There again, we really appreciate you guys for staying with it and for having started this and it continuing on with us. Now I'd like to honor our deceased members, which unfortunately we've lost some callers, and we'd like to recognize them. CALLERLAB wishes to honor these CALLERLAB members who passed away since the 2012 CALLERLAB convention. During their lives, each contributed to the square dance activity and to CALLERLAB. Please take time during the convention to remember them and their families. Joe Casey, New Hampshire. He joined CALLERLAB in 1974. Bill Dan, Pennsylvania, joined CALLERLAB in 1987. Tom Dillander, Kentucky, joined CALLERLAB in 1984. Had a tragic accident this year, and I would just like to mention to you, we asked if we wouldn't mind saying that his wife, Pam, is still continuing the Palomino Record Service at this time, and so if you do business with them, please continue to do business with Pam, okay, because she's having some hard times right now, as I'm sure you can imagine. Cal Golden, Arkansas, joined CALLERLAB in 74. Doyle Hathcock, Oklahoma, joined CALLERLAB in 1989. Ken Kohlmeyer, Kentucky, joined CALLERLAB in 1983. Paul Kubler, North Carolina, joined CALLERLAB in 1989. Hank Lutcher, Pennsylvania, joined CALLERLAB in 1986. Dick Manning, Oklahoma, joined CALLERLAB in 1989. Bill McCarty, Australia, joined CALLERLAB in 1990. Gerald McWhirter, Oklahoma, joined CALLERLAB in 1977. Phil Smith, California, joined CALLERLAB in 1999. Bill Williamson, Oregon, joined CALLERLAB in 2001. This list represents the individuals for which the Home Office has been notified of their passing. If we missed anyone, please accept our apologies. It was strictly just the fact that we didn't have the information, okay? All righty, thank you. And while we're in this mode, let's just stand for a moment, everyone, and just in a moment of silence for respect out of these members we've lost. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I'd like to introduce the newly elected and re-elected members of the board. Will the newly elected board members come forward as I call your name? Walt Burr from Germany. Mike Hogan, Nebraska. With the board members who were re-elected to a 3-year term, please come forward. Bill Boyd from Florida. Deborah Carroll Jones, Texas. Betsy Gada, New Jersey. Eric Hennerlau, California. I murder Ken's name. I never know if it's Ritucci or Ritucci, but Ken Ritucci from Massachusetts. Is that close enough? I got you up here anyway. Tom Rudebach from Ohio. What do we do now, Dan?
Go to incumbent, have the incumbent stand up.
Do what?
Go to the next page where it says have the incumbent sign up. Stand up.
And go ahead and read that. As I introduce the incumbent members of the board, I ask them to stand in place and join in taking the oath of office. Clark Baker, Calvin Campbell from Colorado, Clark is in Massachusetts, Barry Clasper from Canada, Wade Driver from Texas, Patty Green, North Carolina, Bill Harrison, Maryland, Jerry Justin, Texas and Canada and lots of other places, Tim Mariner, South Carolina, John Marshall, Virginia, Jim Mayo, New Hampshire, Bear Miller, Colorado, Tom Miller, Pennsylvania, Bob Pointer, Florida, Jerry Reed, Florida, John Swindle, Florida. And this year we had 2 board members that could not be with us, Larry Cole from Indiana and Vernon Jones from Texas. And this year there are 2 board members that are retiring from the board, and that's Skip Brown from Maine. I don't know if I can say this other. Elmer Sheffield from Florida. To administer the oath of office, our executive director, Dana Schirmer.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Accept this position with trust as a serious responsibility and pledge my services during my term on the CALLERLAB Board of Governors. I will put the welfare of my fellow members before my personal feelings. I will support the decisions of the majority and abide by the CALLERLAB Code of Ethics. All this I pledge as my support of the ideals of CALLERLAB. Congratulations, Board of Members. Ladies and gentlemen, I present the Board of Governors for 2013-14.
We thank you for your service to CALLERLAB. The CALLERLAB Appreciation Awards were first presented at Virginia Beach in 1992 and have been presented at every convention since that time. It is presented to show CALLERLAB's appreciation for volunteer work in support of CALLERLAB. The award reads, "In grateful appreciation of your dedication and service to CALLERLAB, given unselfishly of your time, energy, and knowledge to support the goals and ideals of CALLERLAB." This year, the appreciation awards were delivered with the convention packets. Wow. Much of the work of CALLERLAB is done by our committees. Dedicated committee chairman and vice chairman are the people who make it happen with the committee structure. Some of the recipients could not attend the convention, and their certificate will be mailed to them. Your executive committee has approved presenting appreciation awards to outgoing committee chairman and vice chairman. And I will ask these award recipients to stand. Tom Rudebach, chairman of Mainstream. The following were not able to attend the convention: Lanny Weekland, vice chairman of Mainstream, Arnold Gladson, chairman of Lessing Systems, and Vernon Jones, vice chairman of Lessing Systems. Applause, please. Thank you. Thank you, Tom, for your service. Thank you. The idea of CALLERLAB conducting the caller training sessions at the National Convention was first proposed to the NEC at Anaheim in 1976. Plans were already in place for 1977 in Atlantic City and 1978 to be held in Milwaukee, where seminars were to be held. CALLERLAB has staffed these seminars since that time. Last year in Spokane, Washington was the 34th year CALLERLAB has provided caller training seminars at the National Square Dance Convention. CALLERLAB would like to recognize our members that have given of their time to help with these popular and important sessions at the 61st National Square Dance Convention in Spokane, Washington. I will ask the award recipients to stand and remain standing when I read your name. Doug Davis, Tony Oxendine, and Jerry Junk was unable to attend. Wait a minute, there's another line here at the top. Oh, Randy Doherty. Couldn't miss him. Ken Ritusi and Betsy Gotta. And now, as I said before, Jerry Junk was unable to attend. How about a nice hand for these people? CALLERLAB and the foundation had a vendor booth at the 61st National Square Dance Convention in Spokane, Washington. The home office was very ably assisted by Wade and Laura Morrow and Dana Schirmer. We had requested members attending the convention to help out if they were attending the convention. Several members did stop in at the booth to help. I will ask the award recipients to stand and remain standing when I read your name. Tom Rudebach, Deborah Carroll Jones, Tom Miller, Brian and Debbie Freed, John Jones, Ken Ritusi, Wade Driver, Betsy and Roy Gotta, and how about the ones I mentioned first? Wade and Laura Morrow and Donna, are you in here? If so, stand up. Okay. How about a nice hand for these folks for volunteering? Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate it. We thank you and congratulate all of you who received the appreciation awards. The Executive Committee is happy to present to you today as a blaze of enthusiasm for this convention. A Raleigh, North Carolina-based professional speaker, Denise Ryan, is a motivational pyromaniac and a spark plug. Is that right? Her infectious energy and enthusiasm will set the room ablaze. And I can tell you, we've already sat through a session with Denise, and those words are true. She's just that. A magna cum laude, Lord have mercy. Y'all know what that is. That's something to do with college. I didn't go there but 2 years, and they never got to that session. Graduated at the University of South Carolina with a master's degree in business. She really specializes in lighting fires. After earning millions for clients, for clients in the corporate world, Denise realized she had a talent for firing people up. She parlayed this gift into Firestar, a company specializing in enthusiasm. 11 years later, Denise motivates and energizes large corporations and small businesses across America at conferences, board retreats, and annual meetings. Her no-nonsense direct delivery, coupled with her astute business savvy and irreverent wit, leave audiences not only laughing, but with actionable tips. Not your typical motivational speaker, Denise was thinking outside the box long before the phrase was coined. She holds the title of Certified Speaking Professional, which is a CSP, a designation awarded to fewer than 10% of professional speakers. Denise is an author, keynote speaker, and most notably, a fire starter extraordinary. Denise's infectious enthusiasm motivates the unmotivated and challenges the challenged. Would you please welcome Denise Ryan?
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. One of the things I'm going to talk to you about today is dealing with change. And I'm going to start by seeing how well you guys deal with change. So everybody has an orange sheet of paper at their place? Oh. You are deprived. I got one right here, I think. There they are. And you need a pen. A pen and that sheet of paper. You guys did bring a pen to the conference, right? I already have change resistance. They didn't give us a pen. No. Well, if you don't have a pen, you can't win prizes. You might bribe someone next to you to see if they can give you a pen. All right. For those of you that have pens, oh, this gentleman has 3 pens. Who needs a pen? All right. So the rest of you have pens, or you're already decided you're not going to deal with change? All right, what we're going to do, have you all ever gone to a conference with the hope that you would meet new people, and then you got there and you hung out with the 5 people you knew before you got to the conference? I think a lot of times that happens. We come and we hang out with the people we know. So I want to give you all an opportunity to meet some people you don't know. And I know you can't know everyone because some people, this is the first time they've ever come. So what I'm going to do, we're going to go on a treasure hunt. I sense the excitement in the room. I sense it. I'm going to give you 6 things, and I want you to write each one of these 6 things down. And what you're going to do when I say go is you're going to find a person for each one that has the thing in common with you. So this is to get you to talk to each other and bond with all the love that I know is deep inside you. All right, so let me give you the 6 things. The first one, and this one should be easy because we had everybody stand up so we could see this. Someone who's been to the same number of CALLERLAB conventions as you. I know there's some ones, and we also know there's 3 people you guys are going to have to use each other. So, someone who's been to the same number of conventions as you. Number 2, this one should be a little easier. This is someone wearing the same color. That should be easy. No cheating now. Those of you that are already starting, you're cheating. All right. Okay, number 3. Oh, that's good. Someone that has the same number of children. Now, you all can be creative with these. You can define children any way you like. Actual children, pets, spouses. I mean, whatever you need to do to make that work. Number 4 is someone with the same hobby or interest besides square dancing. That would be too easy. Besides square dancing, yes. I know, it's hard to believe. You could use eating, sleeping, shopping. You could be creative. Now, this one may be the most challenging. Someone born in the same month. You can go with zodiac sign, too, if you want to. Same zodiac sign. I was afraid you might say that, so that's why I went with month. Okay, now before I give you the last one, I want to reiterate the rules. The rules are you're going to find a person. When you find them, I want them to initial by the one you have in common. This so I can make sure you're not cheating.
They're initialing already.
You guys are on the board? What about the ethics policy? So you have to get initials. They have to be 6 different people. When you get 6 different ones, come up here and grab me. I have 5 prizes for the first 5, and then the game is over. Okay, here's the last one. Read the 6 again? I know, I'm trying to keep your attention. The last one, number 6, is someone who drives the same color vehicle. Yes, dirty is a color. All right, find your 6 people.
Attention.
Yes?
My hobby is motivational speaking.
Oh, beautiful. Which one was that one? This one?
Remember,
I think it's this one.
same life.
Have you got a list of how many conventions I've been at? Huh? I don't know how many conventions I've been to.
Oh, just guess. 10? 20? How many do you think? Just guess. I won't hold you accountable if it's the wrong
23,
answer.
Just pick out one.
Is he's the late one. I'm gonna stand up here where they can see me for the prizes. Hey, they're doing pretty good.
We had one of our legends used to do, he'd have like 12 squares of answers or more, and hand out papers. There'd be a piece of paper that would be an animal sound, like duck.
Oh, yeah.
And you just go around and you have 4 pieces of duck papers, and one that people draw out names. There'd be enough for boys and girls, and then all these different types of animals. Then you turn the lights off and says, now find your square. By making a sound.
That's a good
And
idea.
go quack, quack, quack. People barking and oinking and mooing.
Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. See if anybody can find me. The poor people in the back might never get to me. Am I what?
Can I ask you for the same
Absolutely.
color?
Oh, yes. Oh, you're doing good.
Looking for someone that's been to 13 conventions.
You got him?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you're the first one.
Please
Congratulations.
come to the podium if you've been to 13
You got 'em?
conventions.
You got him? Okay. I got a prize for you. You got him?
Bingo.
Oh, good job. Oh, you got him?
Hobby was too easy.
Your initial
Most of
Oh,
us
wow.
yes.
That's hard. You got yours, and I guess I got one poor man waving in the back that has no chance to get here. I know, but I already made eye contact with him. I got my winners, you guys. I got my winners. I got your prize. I got my winners. I've got all the winners, you guys. I've got all my winners, you all. Game is over. Thank you. I know. Game is over, guys. You can return to your seats.
All right.
I have my winners. Ha ha ha. You guys, type A's, you can let go. You can give up now. Oh, thank you.
I hear you talking, but I see no micro there.
I think I got it now. That's great. It was a little low. How's that? Is it better? Turn it up maybe? You got it now? Test, 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 test. Loud. That's good. That sounds good. All right, guys. Good job. You all did so good. I know you had to fight out from the chairs. Let's see my people that won, my winners. Raise your hands. You guys give them a round of applause. They were very good. Very good indeed. Now, I want to take a quick poll of the group. So I need you to raise your hands on this one. How many of you all know someone who chooses to be miserable? Yeah, at least you guys aren't pointing at anybody. That's good. That's good. I think we all know people like this. And I'm not talking about people that are going through a tough time. I'm talking about those people who no matter what happens, they'll find something wrong with it. No matter what. And I run into people like this, y'all, everywhere I go. I was making a speech, this was several years ago, and I hate that this weekend the weather's been so bad, you all, because typically in the South, in the spring, it is spectacular. And I was out, this was probably in the middle of April, and it was a spectacular day. I mean, the temperature was perfect. It wasn't too hot, it wasn't too cold, low humidity, sky with this deep, beautiful blue, dogwoods blooming, azaleas blooming. It was gorgeous. Well, I was in a public restroom, and I came out of the stall, and I'm standing there washing my hands, and there was a lady standing next to me washing her hands. So I turned to her and I said, "Isn't it a gorgeous day?" She stopped washing her hands. She looked over at me. She said, "Well, it's kind of windy." I said, "You have a good day." And I got out of there. Because do you all know what she was? She was an enthusiasm vampire. These people will suck all of the enthusiasm right out of you. So I think you really have to work hard to stay far, far away from the vampires. Now, I do want to give you a little something to protect you from the vampires. Like, let's say you go back with all this fun, exciting information you get at the convention, you've got some good ideas, and you take it to a club leader, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I think we should try this, it's a great idea." And they say, "We tried that back in 1972. It didn't work then, ain't gonna work now." I got a little something you can do. Just give that person the V for vampire. It won't change them. You can even do the V in your pocket. But you are going to feel so much better. Think how this could work at home. "Honey, you want to go out for dinner?" "No, I'm fine watching TV." And think how handy this could come in over the next couple of days. Somebody says, "Oh, you could try this new idea. We can let new people come in. You could do a fun night or a basic class." "We tried that. Nobody showed up." Because here's the thing. It is so much easier to be negative, isn't it? It's so much easier to just sit there and say, "That's not going to work, and that's not going to work, and that's not going to work." It is much harder to be the one that tries to be positive. And some of this is just human nature. I mean, it's kind of our human nature to sit back and give all the reasons why something won't work rather than why to think of all the reasons why it might. But if we are going to revitalize square dancing, we cannot afford to have any vampires, can we? No, we work at night. All right, who's got a wooden stake? I got some. Here's the thing, and I think what we're going to talk about is change and the challenges of change. You all know, I mean, participation is declining, except there's been some clubs, there's some pockets out there where they're successful. Yes? Which is very, very exciting. So what we, I think, have to figure out is how do we emulate, build on this success. But what you're going to encounter, I think, is a lot of resistance to change, including yourself. Are there any type A personalities in the room? I know, I'm a professional speaker, and I think we're a lot like callers. We like being in the front of the room, being in charge, lots of type A personalities. If you're not sure if you're type A, ask yourself if you believe there's one way to do things. The correct way. Your way. Then change for you is probably much harder than for anybody else because you think you got it right. So I want to try to give you some tips, not only to help you deal with change, but to help the people that we're trying to change. So, first of all, there's kind of a process in dealing with change. And the first thing is you kind of have to understand the change and take a good look at it. And there's one key question that I want to ask you all. When you're thinking of a change, and it could be any change, it could be the decline in the popularity or the participation for some of the chapters, anything like that. But here's the money question. Who or what is in control of the effects of the change on you? Yes? Oh, say it again slowly? Okay. Maybe we should say it all together. Who or what, yes, is in control of the effects of the change on you? Yes. Yes. Is she here? Okay. The reason I think this is so important is if we blame other people, if we're like, well, if the club members would just change, or people would just get it together, or if this would just happen, we can't control any of that. The effect of the change on us is up to us. Are we going to let it demotivate us, or are we going to let it make us work harder? So what do you guys think? Does everybody buy into that? Back rows? Okay, good. Just nod and I won't come back there. That's all you got to do. So once you understand that, hey, whatever life throws at me, I can't control it. I can only control how I let it impact me. That tells you where all the power is. And I think all the power in revitalizing square dancing is in this room right now. What do you think about that? Because this is what I believe. Now, I know the club leaders are vitally important and the dancers are vitally important, but I think the leaders are the callers. I think you have to work with them, but I think the change is going to come from here as far as revitalizing square dancing. It's partnership with them, but I think it's going to come from here. And the reason I think it's the people in the room, because you cared enough to come to the conference. So, you guys are it. And either you find that empowering or maybe not. One of my favorite quotes, I read this the other day, and I was thinking of it in terms of my business and the recession, but I love this quote. The quote is, "The north wind has made the Vikings." We don't get strong until it's hard. And you know what? For square dancing right now, it's hard. So you get to decide. Am I a Viking, or am I ready to throw it in? Vikings? All right. So once you've accepted that, the second step is you get to accept or reject the change. And I think if you reject the change, then you just keep doing everything the way you've always done it. You say, it's not changing, the numbers aren't decreasing, we'll just keep doing what we've done forever. But if you kind of accept it and say, hey, things are different, I've got to do something different. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. And I wrote these down on that card I gave you guys because I think this is fascinating. And I think it'll be an interesting thing to share with the other people that you work with. So if you have a club, I think this is interesting to talk to club members about. And it's the styles people have in dealing with change. And I'm going to go down. You might want to, if you've got a pen, you might want to take a couple notes. You can remember this or buy the recording. But I think this is fascinating. Let me tell you about the different styles. The first one is passive acceptance. And these people, whatever change happens in their life, they just kind of accept it. They just kind of roll with it. And that's not necessarily bad sometimes. I mean, for example, here in North Carolina, we have a lot of hurricanes. And I'm sure you've all seen when the Weather Channel does the story on the hurricane and they interview somebody. And they usually pick somebody that lives like in a trailer that's going to blow away in the hurricane, and the person's like, I'm not leaving. They can't make me go. I can ride out the hurricane. That's probably a better time to passively accept the change and leave. Yes? I mean, if they're telling you to go, the best thing might be just to go. So sometimes passive acceptance is good. The danger, though, of passive acceptance is you accept some changes that you don't want to accept. You're not working to affect your own change, but that's passive acceptance. People just kind of ride it out, go with the flow. The next one is active acceptance. Now, a lot of times this can be positive. Like, let's say somebody's got a new idea. We're going to do a basic night. We're going to do a fun night. It's a change. You might not like it, but you say, you know what? If the club decides to do that, I'm good with it. I'll accept it, and I'll help. A passive person will just kind of go through, but an active acceptor is going to work towards it. It might be the example of, let's use something in your personal life. Let's say your marriage falls apart. Somebody leaves you. You've done the marriage counseling. You did everything to try and maintain it, but now it's done. An active acceptor would say, well, I always did want to redo the basement. Now's my chance. So they're going to make the best of it. Active acceptance. Partnership, these people will make a compromise. They'll say, well, I'll do it if you do this. I see this a lot in the workplace. People might say, well, I'll take on the increased workload, but I want a more flexible schedule. Or I can handle this, but I'm going to retire in 2 years, so I don't care. So the compromise might just be in their own head. So they'll do something, but they want something in exchange for that. The next one, put a star by this one. This is one of the most popular, and it's the hardest to deal with. It's passive resistance. What passive resistors do is they pretend to go along with the change, but they actively work against it. So you might have a club meeting, and you say, okay, guys, we're going to do this, and this is what we're going to do. Does everybody like it? Any questions? Any thoughts? Or maybe it's even callers. And we say, okay, does everybody understand that we need to have a basic night or a fun night so new people can enter? And everybody says, you say, are there questions, thoughts, comments? Okay, that's what we're going to do. And 10 of you are out in the parking lot. That's the worst thing I've ever heard. That's going to destroy everything. Why are they doing that? That's passive resistance. Nobody says anything in the meeting or when it might have some impact, but they're certainly not on board. What do you guys think about that? I'd rather have an active resistor any day of the week than a passive one. Because I need that person to bring they may have a really good reason why something won't work. But if they don't say anything, I don't know what they're thinking. I think they're on board. I think my idea is good. So that's kind of a challenge I have for you all while you're here. If somebody's given a session and they're saying something you don't agree with, or you know why it might not work, and they ask for input and you don't give any, and everybody leaves thinking it's a good idea, I think you've done a disservice to all your fellow callers. Now, I always tell the active resistors they have to pick their battles. I mean, you don't want to turn into a vampire and resist everything. What? We're going to change the brand of coffee? We can't do that. I like this brand of coffee. This is blah, blah, blah. So you got to pick your battles. But I think it's being part of the change rather than just checking out. Now, as I'm going through these styles, and I think this is really interesting, all of us have a natural style we tend to go to without even being aware of it. If you can really step back and look at how you personally have handled change through your life, one of these is you. And I'm telling you that because when I did this, I realized I'm the next one, which is full retreat. What full retreat people do, and I'm not proud of this, I didn't even know I did this. What full retreat people do when the going gets tough, they just say, this isn't so great. Nobody's showing up to my meetings. It's not exciting anymore. I'm not going to do it. Your marriage goes south. Whatever. I'm getting a divorce. I'm not saying this is a good style, you guys. A lot of times I quit on something before I want to. But this is what I always assumed, that if people were in a situation and they didn't like it, they would just leave. That's what full retreat's about. This would be if I came to one of your events and it wasn't fun, I'm not coming back. I'm not going to say, well, maybe it was an off night. I'm done. Again, I'm not saying this is a good style. Now, let me show you how this could play out. I did something called Leadership North Carolina, and you had to do a team project. And what the project was putting steps in a process in order. So they sent us all apart as individuals to put the steps in order. And then the idea was you'd come back as a team, and the team would get a better result than the individuals. Makes sense, right? Well, they're videotaping this, and I'm on the team, and I have 2 women and 2 men, and the men are attorneys. Yeah. So I'm trying to argue for the steps I think are right. And so we're all trying to work on this and put this together, and I'm arguing and arguing. Finally, I do the full retreat thing. You can see it on the videotape. I go like this. I totally check out. I do the full retreat thing. As a result, every other team, the team score was higher than any individual score. Not my team. My score was higher than the team score. So I messed up our whole team because I withheld. But now that I know that about myself, I can manage it, or I can ask other people. If I was on your board, I would tell you. And when you see me going, you could say, Denise, are you doing that full retreat thing? I'd be like, yeah, we need to get back on the agenda. That's full retreat. Now let me tell you the last one, which I'm sure is all of you. The last one is positive acceleration. These are the Pollyannas of the world. These are the people that are like, oh my gosh, we're going to do a fun night? That is the greatest idea I've ever heard. I'm going to make a bulletin board. It says fun night. It has pictures, and we can get confetti. And oh my gosh, I think we should have shirts made up that say fun night. It'll be the greatest thing ever. Oh, let's do it. Yeah. Now, some of you may be skeptical and think, no, I'm adaptive. I use a different style based on the appropriate response. Let me give you an example of how I know this has validity. I was doing a speech one time, and have you all ever been in a hotel when the fire alarm goes off in the middle of the night? Oh my, it's so scary, isn't it? I mean, this is like 2 a.m., I'm dead to the world. All of a sudden it's wah, 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 wah. I'm like, oh my God. And I grab my paper day timer, and I head out, and I go down to the parking lot. That was my response, right? Full retreat. There's an alarm getting out of here. So I'm standing down there. Now, this is where it gets interesting. I'm standing down there. There's another woman standing down there, and what she decided to grab were her cigarettes. Wouldn't want those to catch on fire, would you? I mean, so she grabs her cigarettes, and we're all talking about this the next morning. Well, listen to this. One woman never left her room. She got on the phone and argued with the front desk. This is your active resistor, right? She's like, is this a fire? Because if this is a drill, I'm not leaving. I mean, are you sure? I mean, never occurred to me to do that. Another woman said, I don't know why none of you came to get me. She was waiting. Isn't that interesting? So think about this. When you're working with a group, you're going to have a mix of these. You're going to have some active resistors. They're going to fight you every step of the way. You're going to have some retreat people that you have to worry about them checking out. You're going to have some people, too, that are going to sit there and wait to be rescued. I think that's a very interesting one, because I would bet that some people are waiting for somebody else to rescue this art form. I think that's fascinating, because I think if you're trying to change people, you're going to have to keep all of these different styles in mind. And as you're here for the next couple of days, give some real thought to what style you are and what style you want to be. I mean, if you look at this list, who do you want to be? Do you want to be the active acceptance person? What would that look like? It certainly wouldn't be the person in the back of the room thinking about why all the person in the front of the room's ideas won't work, right? So I think this is really interesting. It's strategically thinking, who you want to be and how you want to respond. Do you want to be that person out front going, I love square dancing, and they'll have to pry the microphone out of my cold, dead hands? Maybe not. That's how I feel about speaking. And when I think about the situation you guys are in, the situation speakers could be in 30 years, webinars. We may not have any conferences like this. So we've got to really fight to get people to continue to come together. So we all have that same challenge. But if you love square dancing, you can't let it die. All right. Did everybody pick a style they kind of like? Sounds like we're going with passive something. I don't know. All right. Let me give you my top 10 tips for dealing with change. And I think you guys might want to write these down. You can write them down anywhere you like. Not on the orange sheet, because we're going to talk about the orange sheet, and I want you to give it back to me. So write it on the back of the card. All right. My first tip is no vampires. No, N-O, not K-N-O-W, N-O, vampires. No vampires. Now, I don't think of this just in terms of calling. I think this is important in your life. I don't think you can stay motivated and excited and positive about what we're talking about doing if you have a bunch of vampires that are constantly pulling you down. And again, I'm not talking about people going through a tough time. I'm talking about solidly negative vampires. One of the things we talked about in the board retreat was how important it was to have a fire starter in the clubs. Somebody that was excited, somebody that really welcomes new members, that's high energy. If you have a club led by a vampire, you're in serious trouble. You guys know, right? Because nobody wants to come and hang out with the vampire. They'll drive off the best people. That's the problem. I did a lot of work with leading volunteers. And if you get a vampire in there, people won't hang around. I mean, you're coming, it's a volunteer thing. So how many of you lead volunteers? I know the board members do. Are the rest of you, are you involved with your clubs? I know you guys have to lead volunteers. Oh, I'm getting ready to lay something on you. I think leaders get the followers they deserve. What do you guys think about that one? Let me tell you why. If you are enthusiastic and it's exciting and it's fun, that drives off some vampires. If it doesn't, you have to find a way to get the vampires out. I found I'd led volunteers a lot, and I would find creative ways to isolate the vampire. They would do the check-in desk, or they would help do something where they were not around my other people. A lot of times I'd find that if I got the right people and we were always enthusiastic, the vampire couldn't get a foothold, and they would leave. But if you start to program everything to make the vampire happy, which is an impossible task, you lose all the other people. Oh, it's interesting, isn't it? All right, the next one, and this one seems so simple, you guys, but it is huge in dealing with change and staying motivated. The next one is get enough sleep. Well, maybe not here. But let me tell you guys how important this is. And you all probably know from when you're calling, if you get up there and you're exhausted, it's not as good, is it? I mean, I know that for a fact with my speaking. I have to be well rested, so I have all that energy to give out. Most people need somewhere between 7 and 9 hours of sleep a night. And get this, for each hour you're short, it has the same impact on your body as taking an alcoholic drink. I figure a lot of y'all are drunk right now. The next one I put is do what you want. And I'm going to explain this. Do what you want. I think that there are a lot of voices on us, a lot of pressure on us to do things that we don't like. For example, you can turn on the television set and in about 15 minutes feel completely inadequate. Your teeth aren't white enough, your abs aren't flat enough, you got wrinkles. I mean, in 2 seconds, you feel bad about yourself. And it's really, really hard to hear your own voice. And that's the only voice that's going to work for you, that's going to make you happy. And it's also hard to kind of not worry about what other people are saying. Let me give you an example of this. Have any of y'all ever been to a movie and maybe 20 minutes into it, you realize it's terrible? Does that ever happen to you? Well, I'm sitting there. I'm with my friend Chris, and we're sitting there watching a movie. And literally 20 minutes into it, it's awful. So I turned to Chris, and I said, Chris, this movie's terrible. And Chris says, I know. And I said, let's go. And he says, we can't. So I said, why not? He said, because someone might see us. I said, Chris, do you know any of these people? He said, well, you go, and I'll come out in about 5 minutes. I'm like, okay. It doesn't matter what other people think, but sometimes we worry about that. What will the dancers think if I do this? You know one thing that will shut everybody up? Success. You get a big crowd of excited people there, I think all of a sudden everybody's going to be pretty excited. Success will always work, and if you do what you've always done, I don't even think you're going to get what you always got anymore. I think the world is changing so rapidly, if we do what we've always done, we're just going to be left further behind. Would you agree? So you're going to do change, and there's going to be people that don't like it. The hardest voice, though, I think, to overcome, it might be your own. I'll give you another example of this. I was out walking one day, and how many of you are from the South? Oh, everybody from the South, you guys know. In the middle of the summer, in the South, in the middle of the day, it is hot, and it's humid. And there I am. It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, walking, hot as heck. It's July, and I notice on the side of the path some big, plump, juicy blackberries. Yeah, my mouth just started watering. And I leaned over to pick one, and I heard a voice. It was my mother's voice. It said, "You can't eat that. It hasn't been washed yet." So I leaned over and picked that blackberry and popped it in my mouth, and that juice tasted so good and tart and awesome. And you know the best part? I have lived to tell you all about it. The hardest voice to hear is going to be yours. You guys have so much collective experience of this. So some of this is you know what's going to work. So it's listening to other people, but it's also doing what you like and what works for you. So keep that in mind for the next couple of days. The next one I think is very important, and it's very hard for type A personalities. Ask for help. It's hard, isn't it? Our whole culture is designed that if you ask for help, you kind of look weak. And we think we will look weak. We'll be admitting that there's something that we don't know or something that we need. And I would put, if you wrote that down, ask for help, I'd put a slash mark by that and put keep learning. There are going to be things that you don't know how to implement. Or maybe somebody talks about it, you're not sure how it would work. Ask. Ask somebody for help. Everybody in this room would be more than glad to help somebody else. And that's the beauty of coming together. You have more collective knowledge at this conference than exists anyplace else in the world when it comes to Square Dance Calling. It is all right here in this hotel. So if you don't ask somebody for help while you're here, I think you've done yourself a disservice. But the idea of continuing to learn, I'm preaching to the choir because you guys came. A lot of people don't come to conferences and events anymore. They kind of think they got it. It's just what we were talking about earlier. The world is changing so fast and so quickly and so much, you have to keep learning just to stay in place. I think the biggest type of change we've seen, and I'm sure you'll hear about it while you're here, is technology. Gosh, it has changed so much. it's just shocking to me. Some of my friends were telling me they took their son out to dinner, and he left his cell phone. He just forgot it. And you know, young people cannot live without their cell phones. So he went to the back of the restaurant. They had a phone back there. It was a rotary dial phone. He had no idea how to use that thing. He just couldn't figure it out. Another friend told me her granddaughter came running in the house and said, Mimi, something is wrong with the phone. Something's wrong with the phone. I called Grandpa. And she's like, well, honey, what is it? She goes, it went, ma, 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 ma. I said, oh, that's a busy signal. Totally different way of communicating. The world has just changed, and technology is changing quicker and quicker and quicker. So change is happening more and more rapidly. So if we don't keep learning, how are we going to bridge the gap to the next generation of dancers? So it's keeping learning, and it's so hard. The next one I put, just jot this one down and I'll explain it. Write down the word fist, like make a fist, F-I-S-T, and a slash mark, and the word blow, B-L-O-W. Just a little slash. Now this is a little something you can use. If something happens that makes you angry, but there's nothing you can do about it. You're stuck in traffic and you're late for a dance, something's happening, you're just so angry, you're trying to get a club member to try something new and they just won't do it. All right, I want y'all to do this with me, so remember. Everybody make a fist. Tight. So tight your fingernails are digging into the palm of your hand. Now blow. Now, don't do this in front of the club members. That's not... No. Are you guys saying that's acceptable up north to do that?
No, we have gestures like that in New Jersey.
Oh, I don't want no demonstrations. We're taping. Here's the idea. If you can't control it and it's making you angry, you got to just let it go. If nothing else, you guys will be like, that didn't work. If you start laughing, it worked. It worked. Just remind yourself, if you can't control somebody, and you all know this, if you let that make you mad, it controls you. So it's trying to just let that go. Because if you're going to be a change agent, you're going to make some people mad. It's just the way it is. When you do things different, some people are not going to like it. The next one I put is keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. We've already established we have some type A personalities in the room. I believe, and I am one, I believe for us type A's, this is one of the hardest things to do. Because I'm pretty sure that I know what I like, and I like what I know, and I'm right. Sound familiar? Anyone? And the world keeps trying to teach me how I need to keep an open mind, and it's so hard. Have any of you ever gone on a group tour somewhere? Okay, I see you nodding. Then you know there's some great things about it. You know, you have this group of people that you do stuff with. You go where the group goes. You do what the group does. But there's some bad things about it. You have this group of people you're traveling with, and you have to go where the group goes and do what the group... Well, we went to Australia. And if you've been to Australia, it's absolutely gorgeous. There's fabulous beaches and wonderful food and restaurants and all this great stuff. And one of the things on our itinerary was a tour of some glowworm caves. So there I am, right? Because I know what I like and I know what I'm not going to like, and I'm like, I can't believe this. We got to go to some dark, wormy, dank cave. We could be shopping. There could be beaches. We got to get on the bus and drive there. And the whole time I'm like, this stupid wormy cave, shopping, beaches. Then we have to get there, and then we have to go down into the cave, and I'm like, dark, wormy. Then we have to get on a boat because you got to ride this underground river, and it is pitch black. And I'm sitting there on the boat, and all you can feel is the water coming through your pants. And the sun shining on the beach, and there's shopping stupid worms, and it smells in here, and it's musty, and I'm dark. Then they tell us to look up. And we look up, and it's like a galaxy, a billion little teeny tiny blue-white lights. Once in a lifetime, amazing experience. But I almost missed it because I thought I knew what. Keeping an open mind over the next few days is the hardest thing you'll have to do. Let me give you a couple more examples of that. One of them, and I think it's a great way to think about change, is a story about a peasant farmer. And the farmer had this beautiful horse that all the other villagers were very jealous of. And one day the horse ran off. And the villagers are said to the farmer, "Oh, that's so bad, such bad luck." And the farmer said, "Maybe so, maybe not." A few days later, the horse returned, leading a herd of fine wild horses. The farmer's son was then thrown and crippled while breaking the horses, and all the other villagers again remarked on his bad luck. He said, "Maybe so, maybe not." A week later, a frivolous war was declared by the emperor, and all the young men of the village, except the farmer's son, were forced into battle. None of them returned. We don't always know when we're in the middle of something, whether it's for the bad or for the good. So I think the idea is we keep an open mind. Maybe offering classes that are not advanced, maybe it's a good idea. Maybe somebody who says, "I'll quit if you do it," and we think, "Oh, our club can't live without them." Maybe so, maybe not. Let me tell you one more story about this, because I think this is keeping the open mind is the hardest thing to do. Everybody has that little orange sheet. Well, for years, I'd go to my speakers' conferences, and they would say, "Denise, you have to get the email addresses of your audience members." And I would say, "I don't know. It seems kind of salesy, kind of pushy. I don't want to do it." Years, I resisted this. Years. And on my handout, it has my email address, and I'd say, "Well, if people really want to get my newsletter, they'll go to my website, they'll sign up." I had maybe 600 people sign up over 15 years. I finally started doing this, where if people liked me and they wanted to get my article and my newsletter, they would give me their email address. In 6 months, I've signed up 3,000 people. I use this to tell you guys, we don't always know. And sometimes we got to hear things a lot of times. This kind of stuff can work. So if you guys would like to stay in touch with me and would like to get my articles on how to deal with crazy people that don't accept change as well as you do, if you'll leave me your email address, you can be on my list. Are you getting email addresses of everybody that ever shows up at anything you do? Yay! Yay for those of you that are. Boo for those of you that aren't. And of course, if you get their email addresses, you have to offer them something of value. Now, for those of you that are not getting email addresses, why are you not getting them? They don't have email? Now, you guys know, if all the people that you're marketing to don't have email, you don't have many people you're marketing to. So, a few. If then you're not getting their email, then I assume you're getting their mailing addresses. You surely are not going to tell me they don't have mailing addresses. Okay, so if they don't know how to use their computer, are you getting their mailing addresses? Is that what you guys are getting? Or are you getting nothing? Phone numbers? Are you getting their phone numbers? Are you calling them? At their birthday? Man, do you have a marketing session at this conference? Okay, good. You guys all need to go to the marketing session. Because those are the people, anybody that shows up, oh my gosh, they're worth their weight in gold to you. And if you don't have a good way to follow up, you're missing out. So, but it's just thinking of new ways. And if you're telling me your people don't have email, I'm 47, so that means everybody 47 and younger you're probably not communicating with. Which I'm not even going to talk about what that means for the future. Okay, the next one. I think this is important, and I want to hear your feedback on my number 8. Number 8 is remember. No vampires, get enough sleep, do what you want. Oh, I forgot, you're right. Stop. You guys you definitely can count. Here's another one. Stop comparing. Stop comparing. And maybe this doesn't happen to you guys, but I used to go to my national conferences, and I would sit there and people would talk about what they were doing and how fabulous it was and how they might be speaking all over the world. And they were in Dubai last week and they were making hundreds of millions of dollars a year, and I'd leave my conference feeling like a complete loser. Exactly. And probably they were lying. So if you find yourself comparing in a way that you feel bad, and it may not be at this conference, it could just be life in general. We'll compare ourselves to other people and think, oh, they're more attractive than I am, or their house is bigger than mine, or they seem to have a great marriage and maybe I don't. First of all, You have no idea what you're comparing to, do you? They might have a big house, but they might owe a fortune. You might think they have a great marriage. You don't know. One of the spouses might go home at night and Google how to hide a body. No, you don't know. Not any of you. Never. No, no. I think if you want to make a comparison, ask yourself, am I happier at this time this year than I was at this time last year? And if your answer is yes, you got it going on. That's fabulous. If you're as happy or happier, that's what it's all about. If you're less happy, that's when you might want to make some changes.
Can you lie to yourself?
Absolutely. You can certainly lie to yourself. All right, the next one I put, and this is the one I want your feedback on. This is my number 8. It's about the connection. And I want to know if you guys agree with me on this. I think that square dancing is about the connection of the dancer with the club. Is that the case? Yes, the dancers, all of the people, the connection. The reason I think that, and because I think of the parallel to speaking, if any of you ever watched a webinar or downloaded a podcast or any of these new things, and I've given some, what is lost is the connection between me and you. I mean, it's gone. And I think technology can never replace that. And I think we have to ask ourselves, when someone new walks in the door of a dance, are we working hard to establish that connection? Because that's what you have to offer. If somebody stays home and they watch movies and they're on the computer, they're not getting that. It's entertaining. It's fun. I know it's hard to get people out, but if somebody does venture, and think what an act of courage it takes. I think we forget. It takes a huge act of courage to go to a location maybe you've never been. Think of all these barriers. You've never been there. You got to find a place to park maybe. You're already not sure if you're wearing the right clothes. You've got to walk into a room full of strangers. That takes a lot of courage. So if we don't throw a party and make them feel really welcome and connected, they may never come back. So I think it's remembering it's about the connection. It's about knowing people's names. It's about making them feel welcome. Does everybody agree with that? And I think that's the juicy, fascinating, awesome thing we have to offer. And that's why I think it's so important to either get their email or their mailing address or something, because when they leave there, you still want to stay connected to them. I consider it a blessing that our paths have crossed. I would like to stay connected to you guys. That's the only way I can do it, is with the email. Because you guys know if you're doing postage, the cost is huge. Now, if your members don't have email, that's fine. You can do a mailing. Calling is pretty labor intensive, but you could do that too. I just don't want you to forget me. And I don't think you want people to forget. If they've come to your club one time, you want them to remember you. So some way you can stay in touch with them. But remember, it's about that connection. And you're going to have some people that are good at that connection and some people that are not. That's okay. Make sure the good ones, you're using them correctly. All right, the next one. Accept the change. One of the things we talked a lot about at the retreat is square dancing is interesting in that the more involved you get and you have advanced, you have all these different classes, it's hard to get in. And if you don't have a basic or a fun night, you can't get any new people, right? So it's hard maybe to participate. But the world has changed dramatically and the number of dancers is going down. So we have to kind of accept that and accept that things have changed. But people don't like to accept change. I have something you guys can do if you would like to practice accepting change. Some of you may actually be doing this on the way home. What you have to do is book a flight with a connection in the Atlanta airport. I see that some of you have been through the Atlanta airport. You will have to accept change every time you do that, every time. I'll never forget one of my most memorable Atlanta airport experiences. I always try to allow a lot of connection time in Atlanta. because you just know something's going to happen. You'll get held up on the tarmac or your flight will be late. And I had tried, but inevitably, you all know what happens. We pulled into the gate, and we were in Terminal A, and my connection time had gotten down to about 5 minutes, and my departing flight was leaving from Terminal Q. I'm like, okay, I can do it. Now, you know in Atlanta, you have to go down the escalator and get on the plane train, that shuttle, because it's so big. You know, you can't just walk. You got to ride the shuttle. So I go down the escalator, and there's this huge crowd of people down there. And the plane train has an electronic message, and the electronic message at this time was saying, the train is not operating. The train is not operating. The train is not operating. Eventually, an airport employee walks by and says to all of us, y'all is broke. We said, what do we do? She said, walk. We're like, oh, go back up the escalator, and I'm getting ready to move out. All of a sudden, 2 airport security guards start walking towards me because they didn't look like regular airport security. They look like cops. Now, I have watched a lot of Law and Order. So I get real still and smile real big. One of them says into his radio, yeah, we have her right here outside Terminal A. Turns out someone matching my description had breached security. Well, they get it straightened out. They're like, all right, ma'am, you can go. I'm like, thank you. Have a good day. I get down to the end of Terminal A. Did you all know they can lock down the terminals? Terminal A is locked down. Huge metal wall. Another big crowd of people. Airport employee comes over. She's like, look, you all need to go back down the concourse, exit the building, get on the outdoor shuttle, go back to the main entrance, go back through security, then go to your gates. At this point, a man breaks from the crowd screaming, this is what's wrong with America! Clearly not accepting the change. What are you going to do? The rest of us, we did exactly what she said. I guess they held some of the flights. I got on my flight. The thing is, we can't fight it. You got to at first just accept it. The last tip, and this may be the most powerful one, Gandhi said we must be the change we want to see in the world. So that's the last tip. Be the change. We want people to be more excited about square dancing. We got to be more excited about it. We want people to show up and have a good time. We got to provide the good time. The change starts, I believe, in this room over the next few days. Thank you guys for your time, for your attention, and your very positive attitudes. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Test. I don't use one of these things very much, so. Denise, thank you for a very, very motivational start to our convention. We really appreciate it. You made some very, very good points. I just want to ask you about one because it's not clear in my mind. Does this work even if I have my hand in my pocket? Okay. That's good. Anyway, at this time, I'll turn the mic back over to Dana Schirmer, our executive director, who will cover any details that we may have left out. And before we do that, how about a nice hand for Dana for the job he does? He does. Thank you. He does a great job, makes a lot of money, but he still works hard, and we really appreciate it.
It's loud. I know. Turn some of this up. I'll cut back away. I'm going to kind of step away from the script just a little bit. We do have some changes to be made. No, serious. There was program committees were to meet in Cape Hatteras this morning and this afternoon. The Mainstream Plus, Advanced, and Challenge were supposed to be in Cape Hatteras. We are moving that to Cameron, which is a room over here where we had the social last night. So all the sessions that were in Hatteras are now going to be in Cameron. Please note that for the various program committees. Also tomorrow, any session within Cape Hatteras will be in Cameron. Okay? If you're looking for Cape Hatteras, or I should say Cape Fear, it's on the second level. You have to go to the elevators, go by over here to the corner of the second level, and that's where Cape Fear is. Deborah Carroll Jones will be the MC for our banquet tonight. She has asked that everybody bring a small pad of paper and pencil or pen with you to the banquet tonight. Please do. Guidelines for the conducting committee business and voting during the committee meetings. Committee chairmen have been provided a list of committee members. Committee members must be on the committee 30 days prior to the convention to vote on committee business. Committees cannot override a decision made by the committee by mailing. Any votes taken by the committee at this convention must be submitted to the entire committee for approval before they are binding. If anything is missing or wrong with your convention package, badges, or anything, see the registration area. If anyone is interested in running for the board, you may pick up the petition at the registration area. All interest sessions are being recorded, including this one. And so it's important that if you have something to say during these sessions, please make sure you use the wireless mics or the microphone so we can get your information on the recordings, because most of our members like to hear these recordings, and some are not here at the convention, and many will not be in that session. So please get it on the recording. If you wish to sign up for a committee, you should have received a committee sign-up sheet within your packet. Please fill it out and submit it to the registration office. Critique sheets should have been in the packets. If you do not have a critique sheet, see the registration office. And it's very, very, very important that you each fill one out. This is what the planning committee uses to plan for next year's convention. And I can guarantee you the EC does look at every one of those critiques. So if you have a particular session you want to see repeated or added to or suggestions, put it on your critique sheet. There is Board of Governors informals, one today and one tomorrow. It'll be in the Crescent boardroom. This is where a couple of our board members will sit in there, and you may go in and ask questions to them, present ideals, and they will present it to the board on Wednesday afternoon. There are birds of feather sessions. You should each had a list in your packet that shows what those birds of feather sessions will be and what time. If you're interested in having your own bird of feather, come to the home office and we'll find you, I should say the registration area, and we'll find you a room to use. Luncheon today will be the first of our 4 meals, including your convention package. Your badge is your meal ticket. Special diet plates, if you should have a ticket to present to the server. Please do not tip up chairs because that's dangerous for the wait staff. It was now time for our first beverage break, which will be out in the concourse area out here. And it will start as soon as we're done here. Last but not least, certainly, we certainly hope each of you have an enjoyable convention. And again, as I said earlier, you make the convention, so please inject all your thoughts, present your ideals, don't sit on your hands, get involved. We want you to enjoy yourself and let other people know what you're experiencing. So, it comes that time of the convention that I say to you, your badge is your meal ticket for all convention meals. Remember, no badge, no meal, no exception. Thank you all.